Hello everyone, my name is Adrian Martinez and the following presentation is from my HUC 101 class. The purpose of this video is to talk about the importance of protecting our sense of hearing. Living in a big city like New York has many good things. We live in a metropolis that has access to practically everything. The variety of people and cultures make this a colorful city full of things to experiment, see, taste, learn, and hear. However, it also has negative things, and one of them is that we live in a city full of noise. You only need to take a walk around the streets to hear the amount of noise that we're exposed to. For example, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, car alarms, large speakers in the back of vehicles, trains, traffic, and countless other things that contribute to the noise pollution. Almost everywhere we go, there is noise. The other day, I was with a couple of friends waiting in the bus stop. This bus stop is right underneath the 7th train in Queens. We're talking about the finals when all of a sudden I was no longer able to hear what they were telling me. Every time that the train passed by, we had to stop talking because we couldn't hear each other. Instead of speaking, we opted for covering our ears. The noise was so loud. It was very annoying and irritating. I'm sure that many of you can relate to this story. The trains, construction work, or getting stuck in traffic are all examples of the different ways that we expose to dangerous levels of noise. In this video, I would like to tell you why it is extremely important to protect your hearing from loud everyday noises. The noises may seem harmless now, but they can cause severe and permanent damage to your hearing in the future. Although this is preventable, once it has occurred, it cannot be reversed. Hearing aids can help, but they can never ever correct it. Today, I will talk about how noise-induced hearing loss occurs, the possible consequences of not protecting your hearing, and most importantly, what we can do now to avoid it in the future. Potentially harmful noise is not necessarily unpleasant like many of us may believe. For example, the music at a concert, clubs, lounges, and the volume in our MP3s or iPods can be equally damaging to the inner ear. The reason for this is that any sound delivered with equal intensity, regardless of their source, are equally dangerous. Eventually, continued or repeated exposures to high-intensity sound can cause acoustic trauma to the ear. Did you know that hearing loss is the #1 disability in the United States? 38 million Americans have a hearing loss. Do you believe that? 38 million! According to the Center for Hearing and Communication, despite this alarming number, many people neglect their hearing health, and they lack a basic understanding of hearing loss. Also, Time Health magazine mentioned that 80% of the people expose themselves to levels of noise that will eventually put their hearing at risk. Remember the train that I mentioned earlier? In my research, I found out that in the subway system, the ambient noise levels are very comparable to the level of noise you're exposed to when you hear an airplane taking off. So you may wonder why this information is relevant. Well, according to medicine.net, many experts agree that continual exposure to more than 85 decibels is dangerous to the ears. But what is a decibel? A decibel is a measure of the intensity of the sound. For example, the noise of a rocket pad during a launch approaches 180 decibels. A quiet whisper is approximately 30 decibels. A normal conversation is 60 decibels. The noise of an airplane is 140 decibels. The noise of the subway is a surprising 120 decibels, way above the safety levels. And something to worry about even more is the sound from an iPod, which has been measured at 115 decibels. Now, imagine if we combine these last two elements, the subway and the iPod. What I'm trying to say is that when we're in noisy places, like the subway, many of us tend to raise the volume of the headphones in an attempt to block or muff the noise. However, instead of protecting our ear to the exposure of these loud noises, we're actually causing self-inflicted damage to our ear. In addition, statistics from the National Center of Biotechnology Information shows that induced hearing loss is occurring at younger and younger ages. This is largely due to the fact that technology and lifestyle changes in America. Today's society is definitely more exposed to dangerous levels of noise at an earlier and more consistent rate. So let's discuss how noise damages your hearing. Hearing loss occurs when the ear is exposed to loud noises over a long period of time. The loss is caused by damage to fragile tissue strands with the inner ear. They resemble like tiny hairs. These hair cells become damaged in the presence of loud noise. When this happens, it cannot be reversed, but it can be prevented. So, are you aware of the consequences of not protecting your hearing? I would like to tell you about that now. There are several things that can occur if you don't protect your hearing. Here are a couple of examples. Relatives and friends may become irritated and intolerant. Imagine when they have to repeat themselves over and over just for you to understand. You can also suffer from dizziness or an annoying ringing in the ears, a condition that is called tinnitus. If you have hearing loss, you are going to have to deal with difficulty understanding a speech, development of feelings of frustration, anger, or anxiety. Imagine this situation, guys. You are crossing the street and you don't see that a car is coming. Somebody yells for you to stop, but because you don't hear the warning, you just keep going. Well, I guess you can imagine the end of that story. This is just one of the many things that can happen if we don't protect our hearing. But how can we protect our ears from noise-induced hearing loss? First of all, try to avoid exposing your ears to anything higher than 85 decibels. Simply put, if you have to shout in order to be heard, you may be hurting your ears. Secondly, avoid certain drugs, especially when taking over-the-counter medications. We have to be careful with some medicine. There are some anti-inflammatories and antibiotics that can cause hearing loss. Please read the indications in the back of these products. For example, Pepto-Bismol. Who knew? Next, don't use the cotton swabs in the ear. Swabs are meant to be used in the outer ear only. You're supposed to have some wax in your ears. It's there for a reason. So please, do not stick the swab all the way inside. Okay? What else? Avoid loud or prolonged exposure to noise. Lower the volume of your car stereos. Come on, guys. Does the entire neighborhood really need to know what you're listening to? Seriously? Please, guys, all jokes aside, you have to lower the volume on your iPods. Remember the 115 decibels? Also, earplugs. They are cheap and effective. I pay less than $5 for this. Hardly a large amount to pay for protecting something as precious as one of your five senses. Finally, and this is very important everyone, get regular checkups. Look people, we're not doctors, so make sure to check your hearing. At this point, I have discussed how noise damages your hearing, what some of the consequences of not protecting your hearing are, and what you can do to protect your hearing today. Finally, I want to say that more people than ever before are losing their hearing because they are exposing themselves to extremely loud noises. In the long run, this will permanently damage your hearing, but once again, this can be prevented. If we don't do this today, we will regret it in the future. It is up to you. You can protect your hearing today, or you will wear a pair of hearing aids in the future. Remember, you may also completely lose your ability to hear. I really hope you made the right decision. Thank you so much for your time.